Welcome to the Sandbox. My name's Chris, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at using presets in the Game Maker. Presets are a way of saving the settings of an object so that you can reuse it without having to reapply your preferred parameters, behaviors, components, messages, or triggers every time. Not only does this save time when reusing a specific object, but it also allows you to customize objects that might not appear in your experience until after a trigger occurs. For example, you can trigger an object to appear using the asset spawner behavior for something like an ambush, or you could use the drop component so an enemy drops some treasure when defeated. In both these cases, the object doesn't appear until after something happens in your experience, and presets allow you to make sure those objects are customized to achieve exactly what you want. So let's take a look at how you can quickly and easily set up a preset. For our experience, we're going to create a preset for an enemy that the player will need to defeat to retrieve a coin. For this example, we'll use the skeleton warrior and drag it into the scene. Then in the properties panel, we'll make some edits to the behaviors and components. So that our skeleton warrior is aggressive towards the player, we'll open behaviors and choose melee enemy. By default, this will add the health component to the object as well so the enemy can be defeated. We'll adjust the parameters a little bit to suit our needs by opening edit logic, and in this case, we'll reduce the detection range a little and increase the chase zone by dragging the sliders. We also need to add another component to the skeleton warrior so that it'll drop a coin when defeated. To do that, we'll head to add components and choose drop. We'll leave drop condition to death and change the type of drop to behavior, although you might notice here that you can also use an option for preset, but we'll come back to that. Now we'll choose the asset to spawn when the skeleton warrior is defeated, and we're going to use this flashing sand coin that I picked up from the marketplace. Finally, we'll open components and add the collectible component to the coin, so that when it drops it can be collected by the avatar. We're now ready to lock in the edits we've made as a preset. To save our preset, we'll head to the left toolbar and select the cube with a plus symbol. This will open a pop-up window that will display any of the existing presets you have, as well as the option to create a new one. So we'll click Create New, give our preset a name, and click Done. And that's it. It's that simple. Now the preset is ready to use as many times as you need. Even if it's deleted from the scene, you can open the library, navigate to the preset filter on the left-hand side, and add it back to the scene like any other object. Except this one already has all of the customizations to the behavior, components, and parameters set and ready to go. This is a pretty simple use case, and you might be wondering, why would you bother saving a preset when you could just duplicate the object you've already edited? Well, aside from efficiency, let's circle back to using presets for customizing assets that only appear once they've been triggered. In this instance, perhaps we only want the skeleton warrior to appear once a crate has been busted open. To do this, we drag the crate asset we want into the scene, add the health component so it can be attacked, and use the drop component like we previously did for the coin, except this time we'll be using it to spawn our skeleton warrior. But this is where it gets interesting. When it comes to choosing the type of drop, if we use behavior and choose the default skeleton warrior, while we can add the melee enemy behavior and the health component, we aren't able to adjust any of their parameters, like how much health the skeleton warrior has, or add the drop component so our skeleton warrior still drops a coin. However, if we head back to type of drop and choose preset, we can select the skeleton warrior preset we've already created. This way, all of the variables we defined, including the coin drop, will be active as soon as it spawns. So you can see presets are a fantastic way of achieving greater control and customization of the results that you want. But what if you change your mind and need to make some edits? Well, you can easily update your presets as well. All we need to do is open our library, find our preset, drag it into the scene, and select it. We can then make our desired changes. For example, here we can reduce the total health of the skeleton so it's easier to defeat, and then with our object still selected, click the preset tool. When the preset window pops up, we'll select our previous save, the skeleton warrior, and rename it. Once we hit done, all the changes including the name of the preset will be updated anywhere it's been used with a component or behavior, which again is much more efficient than needing to find every instance where that object's been used with the spawner to update them one by one. A tip here is that this same process can be used if you want to completely replace a preset with a new object while preserving all of the instances in which the previous preset has been used. So for example, if we wanted the crate to drop this small piggy instead of a skeleton, we could drag it into the scene and with it selected, open the preset tool, find our skeleton warrior preset, give it a new name and click done. The preset's new name, object, and associated behavior, components, and parameters will now be reflected in all of the locations that preset had been used with a behavior or component to spawn it. But be warned, this will completely override the previous object and its customizations. So if you don't still have an instance of that object in your experience, you'll need to redo the setup if you want to use it elsewhere. So if you do replace an existing preset this way, consider selecting your existing preset and making a duplicate preset with a new name before going ahead. If you're certain you no longer need a preset, or you end up with too many variations of a preset, you can declutter your list by deleting the ones you don't want. Just open your library, select the desired preset, right-click on it, and choose Delete. Of course, keep in mind that if any behavior or component currently uses that asset as a drop or spawn, they will no longer function as intended, and you'll need to find and replace those presets as needed. The topics we've covered so far are all you need to get started, and there are so many ways you can implement presets in your experience. But before we go, I do want to share just one more tip that highlights how useful these presets can be. Once you've tried out the basics, you might start to realize that you can layer these presets on top of each other. For example, we could customize the coin dropped by the skeleton warrior instead of using its default settings. So again, to do this, we drag the asset into the scene and start making our changes. We can control the name that's displayed when it's picked up. We can add on the collectible component, choose the sound we want to play when it's collected. We can even play with adding the bird behavior by setting the slider to the low end so we get just a little bit of motion once it's spawned. With the changes in place, we'll save the preset and name it Magic Coin. Now we'll update our Skeleton Warrior preset as well by dragging it into the scene. Here we'll change the type of drop in our drop component from behavior to preset and select our newly customized Magic Coin preset. To save the update, just click the preset tool, select the existing Skeleton Warrior preset and update the name. Again, this will update anywhere the preset has been used as a spawner or drop, like on our crate that we previously set up. So now we have a crate that spawns our skeleton preset and a skeleton preset that spawns our Magic Coin preset. And you may have guessed it, if we want multiple instances of this setup, we can select our crate, navigate to the preset tool and save the crate as a preset as well. Now when we open the library, we can drag the crate into the scene and it can be reused as much as needed, and it'll still contain all of the customizations that we've made so far. But we're still not done. We can take this another step further and create a preset containing multiple objects. We can add a couple of trees to complete our scene, then select all of the objects, including the crates, and create a new group preset in exactly the same way we've created the previous presets. Now, in the library, we'll have a different icon to show that this preset contains more than one object, and when we drag it into the scene, all of those objects will be placed with just one click. The possibilities here are endless. The tool is just the beginning, and now that you know the basics, you're ready to get started experimenting. So if you haven't already, why not download the Game Maker and get creative trying out your own presets, and make sure to share the results with the rest of the community. Until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the metaverse.